Good morning. Back in Britain again, and on day two of going through what humans need to develop. So, this is the first exercise, and this is the absolute foundations of motor skills. And so, part A. So, the very first exercise is one called squashed frog. And I hope you remember it due to my splendid picture of a frog. And what you're going to do is the child or the adult, that everybody can do this, it's very good for you, is going to lie there in a prone position. Your hands, your fingertips are going to be touching your wrists. Your head is going to be flat on the hands. You're going to be lying on the floor. It will push back the shoulders. So the top half of the torso is in a pretty good place. As you go down that torso, we want a nice symmetrical torso. We want the body flat. We don't want one shoulder strangely up or another shoulder strangely up. We want the hips nice and flat. We want the legs turned out. And those heels are very gently pressing to the floor. And that is squash frog. And eventually, the person needs to get to the stage where they can fiddle themselves around and get into a nice symmetrical position where their body is lying very nicely, their heels will be touching the floor. But to begin with, you may well have to place the child or an adult, whoever you're working with, into this position. It is a very happy position, and we will go through why. So this is taken from our book, which you are more than welcome to buy, and I will post out to you. So the child's going to lie in the prone position. They're lying there flat. And while they're lying there, you need to work on them understanding where their body is in space. You're going to be talking to them as they lie there, and you're going to be saying to them, your forehead is touching your right hand. Your right hand is touching your forehead. Your right hand is touching your left hand. Your left hand can feel your right hand, but it will also feel the floor. Your left hand can feel all the way along to your elbow. Your right hand can feel all the way along to your elbow. You're going to describe slowly all the way down the body, all the way down the legs, to the knees, to the ankles, to the feet. Very slowly, enormous detail, helping the person really think their way into the body. It's not a waste of time. What you're doing is helping the brain map to the body. And for children with big problems, you are really going to have to help them feel it and keep them conscious. Eventually, they are going to talk through and describe their feelings. And eventually, people can do it without talking. But that's a long, slow process. So it's becoming aware of where our body is in space. That is a really important part of sorting all this out. So the child is there, they have minimal clothing on, they're using hopefully a sports mat, but it doesn't matter really. Lying down, feet spread out, feet turned out, and that heel pressing down. Over time, that's going to turn the legs to a better position with the hips. It's going to turn the legs to a better position with the ankles. And the upper body is getting nice and stretched. Yeah, so it's all stretching the body. And here's a nice little explanation. I've handed out to people before. So part A is telling you pressing gently on the heels. The legs are turning in relation to the hips. So the legs are going to work better with the hips because each day the body moves to a better place. That puts the leg in the right position with the hips and stops the legs turning inwards and pressing down on the feet and the arches. Between 4 and 7 years of age, children should develop a really nicely developed foot. Our children don't because they are slumped on sofas, they are not walking enough, they are just not developing. They're sitting there on computer games and stuff, and they need to have their bodies positioned so that their feet can work properly. If your feet don't work properly, you don't know where you are in space. All sorts of things. But also, if your feet don't work properly, it goes all the way up your postural control. You really can't maintain good postural control. So that undermines vision, that undermines learning. So we've got to get the feet, the legs, the hips, the spine all working properly together. So this is absolute foundations. When the hips are in the right position with the legs, they fall into the correct position with the spine. I should say the spine. The spine can establish a good position, and the shoulders are nicely pushed back because so many people are on computers, they're rounding their shoulders. So every single one of us ought to be doing this kind of exercise. When I'm working with seniors, I get them doing it 10 minutes a day before bed. They find that their body goes into a better position, they're breathing, and they're more comfortable in bed, and they get a better night's sleep. When I'm working with anxious executives, what it does, it stretches their long polyvagal nerve. So if they can just find somewhere to lie down, they can come out of a hyper-alert state. They can then self-regulate better. It's a great exercise. You can't really be in a hyper-alert state and be lying in this position. Very simple bit of mental health DIY that anybody can do. We ought to train everybody to know to go into this position, to maintain their body structure, to maintain a calm state. Once you're in this state, you can also learn to breathe rhythmically and to develop better breathing patterns. So it's a fantastic core foundation position. And we'll do a video on breathing and maintaining a heart rate variance later. But it is a great position. And it just puts the body in the right place. So once a person's learned to hold this position, the next thing is to think about, could you combine it with sound therapy? Because it's a lovely position. You're not blocking the way the body works. You're open to things. And so when I'm doing sound therapy, I often suggest to people they lie there and do 10-minute sound therapy while they're lying in that position. Because their whole body is open, they're ready to accept the sound processing. And so position that is getting our body into the right place, it can also then start doing a global workout, linking to our motor skills, our optic nerves, our facial muscles. And to be honest, all you're doing is lying there prone, listening to high quality sound therapy, which I'd always recommend to Mattis, to start agitating the inner ear and getting the whole system in quite a gentle way working properly together. And if you do that every day for 10 minutes, you'll be quite astonished by the effect. Anyway, those are my contact details. Those are the details of where you can get hold of sound therapy equipment. Thank you for listening to me, and I shall see you tomorrow for the next instalment. Good day.